Welcome back to part 3 of creating internal support with Corselette. If you have not watched parts 1 and 2, please go ahead and do that. If you have, let's get started. In the last video, you saw me sew all the sides together. Here we have all of the 4 pieces sewn together. They're pinned at the sides, and we have the right sides facing each other, even though you can't really tell what the right sides are, which is kind of cool with this fabric. You see that those seams aren't kissing each other, and that's the look that we're going for. So this is kind of what everything looks like. We still have our boning here, and we're beginning to see what this is going to look like. So now I have that elastic piece that I told you guys to get, and this piece is going to be to give support. It's almost like a waist stay so that the piece isn't like sliding up and down. It's actually secure on the person's waist. So what I did was I wanted to make sure it was like in the inside. So I'm going to take my strip of elastic and just kind of lay it down all the way to the end. I'm going to use pins to hold this in place so that I'm able to cut exactly where I want it to be. It doesn't have to have like a great stretch. You don't want to like, it's not supposed to be really elasticy. It's more about the support. So you don't want to make it as if you're like gathering the piece. You want to make it so that it lays pretty flat when you actually sew everything together. So I'm going to close that there. Okay. So I just want you to have a look at what we're going for. You can see the zigzag stitch there. This is what we're going for. This is the look that we're going for. I'm going to cut the excess that's kind of hanging up there by using my hip ruler, just so it has a better curve. I don't need that excess anymore. It was there just in case, but now I don't need that anymore. So I'm just going to go ahead and just remove that piece. So I measure it out, and I'm just going to clip that off there. My handy scissors. And again, this is just so that you're not spending too much time with that. So moving on, I'm going to take my fold over satin elastic that kind of matches this a little bit so that, you know, it does look nice and neat and high end. It is going to be showing, which is why I decided to use it. It's going to be visible to the client when they put it on, and you want to make sure it's as nice and neat as possible. Okay, so those are the next steps I'm going to do. Here I have my interfacing laid out along with my satin, and it's facing up. I just want to show you after those sides are completed and sewn with the zigzag stitches on both the top and the bottom. You're going to eventually add this piece back to it, but I just want to kind of give you an idea of what this is going to look like. So I'm going to put that to the side for now. And again, I've laid out my interfacing, my satin that I'm going to use for the corselet because it does look pretty. I mean, you can use any fabric you want for this, any color you want, as long as it doesn't show through the dress. But for this one, I just wanted to have this pretty satin be the corselet. So I have it facing up. On the wrong side, I have my interfacing down. You want something kind of stiff, but not too stiff. You want something that's going to move with the satin, but it's also going to give it support. So that's what I chose. It is a fusible interfacing, meaning as I go in and press everything, it's going to press inside of the satin. So now that I have these, I'm going to get out my pattern pieces. Remember, these are the pieces we cut from the corselet that we created on the actual person. So this is the pieces that I'm actually going to use for the corselet. I discarded the top part of the corset, and I'm just going to use these bottom pieces now. And I'm going to lay them out, making sure the grain lines are matching up and that it's going to give a nice stretch, but not too stretchy. So I line up all my pieces, making sure that the interfacing is lined up properly. The worst thing is to like cut it and then realize, oh my goodness, like half the interfacing is missing off of this. So these are what the pieces look like cut. They've been cut, and I just wanted to show you guys the back portion of the dress. So this is the inside of the back. This is the lining portion of the dress. This is one of the panels, and I also want to show you like what it looks like once I've attached the side seam with the dress, as well as one of the corselet panels. So this is just the back side seam and back panel. So this is just one part of the dress. And I just want you to guys to kind of see where we're going with this. It's a little bit interesting the way this is built together, and sometimes as you're going through this, you're like, I really don't see where this is going. I kind of just want you guys to reflect on where the end goal is of this design. So I'm going to put that to the side one more time, and let's get back to this corselet. So if any of you have ever made a corset before, there's millions of videos on YouTube about how to create these things. So I just want to kind of walk through it again. So this is it unpinned with all the pieces corresponding to each other, making sure that we've cut the right pieces. I always like to add snips on the side to make sure it's easier for me to start attaching them. So first I'm going to take the layer that does not have the interfacing, and I'm going to pin them together. Then I'm going to take the sides that have the interfacing attached, and I'm going to pin all those pieces together because those are going to be sewn separately as well. So now we kind of have an idea of where we're going because these are going to be placed on top of each other. So let's head to the sewing machine. So I have sewn all my pieces together. The interface side is sewn together as well as the non-interface side. These are going to be pressed out nice and flat, and then we're going to place them with the seams not facing each other. We don't want the seams to face because we want this to be kind of like wrapped around itself. So you don't want the seams to show on the outside because I'm not going to use a serge machine. So this is how I'm going to get closed seams. So now we have what it looks like. Everything is pinned, and I am going to take this to the sewing machine and just sew the top part of this corselet. I'm at the sewing machine. I've got everything ready to go, and I'm going to again carefully, just about I would say a 1/2 inch seam allowance, just go ahead after I backstitch it and just run this through the machine, making sure we keep those seams nice and flat. So now I'm gonna clip those ends. Everything is nice and flat. So the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna top stitch this. So how we top stitch it after we have everything nice and flat is we open this up so that we can run a stitch right through the top of it so that we can ensure that the seams lay flat and everything stays nice and neat. I want the bulk of the seam to be facing towards my stitch line, so the bulk of the seam. And that's usually going to be where the area where it's going to be hidden. So for me, it's going to be more towards the back area because I don't want it to show too much at the top of it. So as you can see there, the bulk of the seam is facing in that direction because that's the direction where it's not going to be visible on the outside. So again, I run it through. Okay, so I'm going to clip my ends, and this is the end result. This is going to need to be pressed, but as you can see, I have my top stitch line, and I'm going to fold it over just like this, and I'm going to press this down nice and flat. All right, so that's pretty much the end of our part 3 video. Just stay tuned for the finale of this corselet video, which should be uploading soon. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. Videos are uploaded weekly covering dressmaking, fashion, lectures, and more. Enroll in Lady Cloth U on Teachable for dressmaking and fashion design courses. See you again soon.